On Wednesday, April 8, 1992, at the Payless Shoe Store at 7325 Pendleton Pike, 1/4 mile west of I-70 in Indianapolis, a 26-year-old female shoe store clerk named Robin Fuldauer was shot twice on the right side of her head at a reasonably close range. Fuldauer's purse and coat were found inside the shoe store, and her car was parked outside the store. Officers found her body in the rear of the shoe store at 2:21 p.m. that day while investigating a possible robbery. On Saturday, April 11, 1992, in Wichita, Kansas, 2 female employees at a bridal shop called La Bride d'Elegance, 32-year-old Patricia Magers and 23-year-old Patricia Smith, were both shot in the back of the head, and the killer forced them to the back of them. On Monday, April 27, 1992, 40-year-old Michael McCown was shot to death from behind while kneeling to stock shelves in his mother's ceramic store in Terre Haute, Indiana. Investigators believe McCown was mistaken for a woman, possibly because he had his hair in a ponytail and the store was a solo female's business. His wallet and less than $50 were stolen from the store. On Sunday, May 3, 1992, 24-year-old Nancy Kitzmiller was working alone at the Boot Village store in St. Charles, Missouri, when she was brutally murdered. She was found shot in the back of the head by customers who discovered her body after she had opened the store. A small amount of money was stolen from the cash register. On Thursday, May 7, 1992, 37-year-old Sarah Blessing was murdered in her gift shop, the Store of Many Colors, which was in the Woodson Village Shopping Center in Raytown, Missouri, near an access road to I-70. She was shot with a .22 caliber handgun, the same weapon used in the other 5 shootings, which were linked to the same person. A small amount of money was taken, but the motive seemed to be homicide, like in the other cases. Tim Hickman was a witness who saw Sarah's killer as he left her store. At 6 p.m. on the day of her murder, Tim Hickman, an auctioneer store owner whose store was across the road from Sarah's store, saw a mysterious, unidentified individual wearing a gray sports coat, slacks, and dress shoes walking around Sarah's store. He thought the man's dress attire was odd. Another witness also saw the unidentified male leave a restaurant he was having food at near Sarah's store. The witness thought there was something off about his demeanor.
Authorities in those departments now believe all 6 of the murders are connected. According to police in Raytown, ballistics information has linked the double homicide in Wichita on April 8th to the 4 prior murders. Kansas City authorities confirmed that by telephone today.
Yes, 1 to 8th in Indianapolis, and then across, I'm going to say it's probably about 350 miles to Wichita, Kansas, and then back to Terre Haute, Indiana on the 27th. Of April, and then St. Charles, Missouri.
St. Charles authorities participated in today's meeting as well.
Well, this particular person is mobile, is quite obvious, so that makes it very difficult to catch someone like that. But we do have the capability of comparing our notes with those of the investigators in other cities.
A 4-state alert is currently in place for the gunman, who authorities now believe may be a hitchhiker.
We haven't had any information that he's been seen in a vehicle.
The killer of the 6 victims spanned a crime spree over 29 days through Indiana, Kansas, and Missouri. The murders were linked by several key factors relating to the method of murder, location, victim profile, and crime scene characteristics. All 6 victims were shot with the same .22 caliber firearm, specifically an Irma Werke model ET-22 pistol. Ballistics testing conducted by the FBI confirmed this connection across all the murders. The killer used specific .22 caliber CCI copper-clad lead bullets, and the cartridge casings found at the scenes had traces of jeweler's rouge, a polishing agent. All the murders occurred in small specialty stores located a short distance from Interstate 70, a major highway in the Midwest which allowed for quick entry and escape. Most of the victims were young, petite, brunette women working as store clerks during slow business periods. The single male victim, Michael McCown, is believed to have been mistaken for a woman due to having long hair and working in a shop with a woman's name, Sylvia's Ceramics. Victims were generally found alone and shot in the back of the head, execution style. The stores were typically robbed of only small amounts of cash, suggesting that robbery was a secondary motive to the killings themselves. These consistent patterns allowed a multi-state task force to confirm they were dealing with a single serial killer. Investigators released numerous sketches. One of them was a 1992 composite sketch. The suspect described from the sketch was described as a thin white man, about 5'7" and 5'9" in height. He had lazy or droopy eyelids and sandy blonde or reddish hair. His age estimated at the time of the crimes was from 20s and 30s in age. In October 2021, St. Charles, Missouri, police released a new age-progressed sketch of the suspect. Investigators at one point believed the I-70 killer and the I-35 killer were the same person due to a similar modus operandi. The I-35 murders from September 1993 to January 1994 had similarities to the I-70 murders in that the murders occurred in Texas retail shops, the victims were female, the same small caliber weapon was used, and the robbery motive was minimal, like in the I-70 shooting murders. Ballistics did not conclusively match the 1992 I-70 series of murders, but investigators have considered a possible connection. The victims were Mary Ann Glasscock, Amy Vess, and Vicki Webb. Harry Edward Greenwell, the I-65 killer, was also looked at as being the possible I-70 killer due to his distinctive lazy eye and the sketch being similar, according to Kim Rhodes, a detective with the St. Charles Police Department. She said that the I-65 killer is older than the I-70 killer, but said that is not enough grounds to dismiss him as a suspect. In November 2021, the Terre Haute Police Department announced that the I-70 killer was a possible suspect in the November 30th, 2001 murder of 31-year-old liquor store clerk Billy Brossman. The killer was caught on security camera footage.
We're going to start with developments with the I-70, I-35 serial killer, 30 years in the making. There is movement in that case tonight. As we join you, what's developing is perhaps the most dramatic advancement in the serial killer case from the early 90s.
And as you may recall, the I-70, I-35 killer's trails span the Midwest, including a murder in St. Charles. Now, multiple sources tell News 4 another unsolved case nearly 10 years later could be added to the killing spree. This video, take a look, from 20 years ago in Terre Haute, is the first time eyes in the St. Louis area are seeing it. And that man you see there in the black, police believe might be our serial killer. News 4's Susan L. Corey is breaking down the newest developments.
Well, today investigators took a strong line, saying they really believe they're going to solve this case, and they're questioning if this Terre Haute murder case will be part of the connection they need to get that done. They say they found similarities between the I-70 killings and the murder of Billy Brossman, which happened almost 10 years later. Brossman was working at a convenience store when he was shot. As it turns out, that store is 7 blocks from one of the 1992 murders linked to the I-70 killer. Investigators said they had a person of interest but wouldn't give more details, saying they ultimately want closure for the families.
They still mourn over this loss. I'm sure all the families do. So just to bring closure for those families, to know what happened and know who was responsible for taking their loved one's life would be tremendous.
This comes days after the FBI and several police departments formed a task force to take a closer look at these cases. Investigators are also showing renewed hope that DNA evidence will help. They're hoping to compare evidence that each department has. And in the meantime, they are asking for people to keep calling in tips that they hope will be key to closing this case. Susan.
Investigators have stated they have a person of interest in the Brossman unsolved murder, and arrest warrants were applied for in his case, but authorities felt there wasn't enough evidence to move forward. The I-70 killer's identity is still unknown after decades have passed, with investigators opening a DNA portal along with having ballistics evidence. His identity still escapes the authorities. Hopefully, the victims' families will one day get justice and the perpetrator will be caught sooner rather than later.